Have you ever wondered why there are so many holidays this time of year? Well, the answer lives in our ancestors. Our ancestors, especially those in the Northern Hemisphere, were very connected to the rhythms of the earth, connected to the cycles of the moon, connected to the stars. And fastly approaching is the winter solstice, the longest night of the year, the shortest day of the year. It's the pivot point, it's the threshold, it's the initiation from darkness into light. And there were many celebrations that our ancestors made throughout this season, right? The Yule celebrations for those of us that have Northern European ancestors. These show up in all of a lot of different cultures in the Northern Hemisphere, in Iran, in China, all across Europe. And the idea here is that we're making that pivot from all the energy going into the earth. The fall is when it dies and the winter is when it hibernates. And this is the pivot to begin to move back into the light, right? And so there was a cause for celebration. It was cause for connection, for gifting. This is the Yule season, right? In which we celebrate the evergreen trees to remind us that there is always life, even in the darkest times. So we get to decide the meaning that we make out of this holiday season. This does not have to be based in consumerism and capitalism exclusively. We can bring deep meaning to ourselves and have it be a way that we're connected more deeply to ourselves and those around us. And it can be magical and a place of wonderment yet again. So I have really 4 ways that I do this that I offer to you, right? The first is through some form of ceremony, right? It's a solstice ceremony. So using candles, using a lot of light around the house, and burning fire, bringing evergreen into the home, and using a lot of time in nature. So when we don't have to work so much, right, over the holidays, it's a great time to get outside, get off of screens, connect to nature, feel the rhythms and the energy, and just allow ourselves to be bathed in forests, bathed by the mist of the ocean, wherever your happy place is, spending time, leaving your phone in your car and spending some hours in nature, and then creating ceremony around it. It's a really wonderful time to set your intentions for the following year, create some goals. I like to do this ahead of time before the New Year's. And you can even use fire as a way to burn that which needs to be burned. So writing, something that you're letting go of and burning it in the fire, letting the ashes go to the heavens, and then writing on a piece of paper your intentions and burning that and letting that go to the heavens. Right? So that's the idea around ceremony. The second thing I do is I use oracles during this time. And an oracle is any kind of person or thing that allows you to discover some deeper truth about yourself. Right? So this is the time of year when I might get an astrology reading or a psychic reading. Whether I believe in the validity of that or not doesn't matter. It's the idea that somebody can tell a really compelling story that will allow me to understand some deeper part of myself. I use a lot of cards. I'll use like animal spirit decks and tarot decks, and I'll pull a card to kind of frame up my year. Right? I mentioned I pulled the fox for this year. I pulled the archetype of the tear, which has helped me really connect to my own grief over the last year. And it's just a really great time to be in feedback with those around us. Let the oracles of our life whisper to us. In another sense, it's a really great time to get feedback. So you might ask for your closest friends and family that we'll be spending more time with to offer some reflection about how they experience you. What are some things that you see as my strengths, things that I do really well? And where are some blind spots that I have? It's just a wonderful time to get some reflections. In some of my communities, every year somebody will take a turn in the center and we'll give them an animal for how we experience them as an animal. Sometimes it can be quite painful. Sometimes it can be quite beautiful that we say, this is the animal essence that I feel that you're embodying this year, right? So it's a good time to just get some wisdom from those around us. So that's the oracle. So the third thing is it's an opportunity to update our relationships in our family. Most of us are spending a bit more time with our family over the holidays, right? And this can be super stressful and a place where we do not feel a lot of magic and wonderment, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? the more work we do on ourselves, this time that we spend with family can shift. So a few different ways that I've worked with this and helped my clients is, first of all, treating your time with your family with a lot of curiosity, right? Like deep investigation about where do you get triggered? Where do you notice yourself collapsing? Where do you notice yourself feeling regressed? And not judging it, just treating it as an investigation to know where your next piece of work is around your family, right? I guarantee you, where you close and where you contract with your family is also the places and spaces that you contract in your everyday life, right? As grown adults, we're relating to the voices of the past often when we're in these family dynamics where we're getting triggered, right? And so we're constantly projecting that onto the people around us in our life. So if we can go into time with our family and understand where we get lit up, where we get pissed off, where we get reactive, where we collapse, where we go into our own shame, those that the essence of that is also happening in our life, and it's a great clue about what we need to do next in metabolizing our own shadows. So that's the first thing. The next would be go in with a mindset that I am going to give to my family, to my parents, to my siblings, to my children. I'm going to give way more than I get. If we go into time with our family trying to get our unmet childhood needs met as an adult, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. However, if we go into the holiday season with an intention to just love up, blow up as many people around us as possible with a lot of love and attention and presence, it will absolutely shift the dynamics about what we're getting back from them. Doesn't mean we're going to get our unmet childhood needs met, but it means that dynamic will absolutely soften and there will be a lot more generativity and love present in the relationship. Next, I take a lot of space. So just because we're with our families for a week or several days, it does not mean we need to spend 24 hours a day with them. Do your normal things that you do around, getting outside and getting space and meditating and yoga and taking walks and not getting boxed in where we have no place to off gas all of the emotionality of being with our families, right? And then I often will limit time. It's not because I don't love my family, but I know for me, 4 days is about my max. And there's no obligation, to suffer beyond that in a certain way. Not that it's suffering, but I just know after a certain period of time, there's like a diminishing return. My nervous system can handle about 4 days, and that's beautiful. That's if I'm traveling. If they're coming to me, I'm good for much longer, right? And when I'm in my own territory, my own space. But if I'm sleeping in another bed, 4 days is about my max. So just feel into where your max is, right? So that's family. That's how we can do family. And finally, the fourth thing is retreat. Like I opened with, there's space in our schedule over the holidays, and it's a really good time to get quiet, either by ourselves or with others, spending a lot of time in silence. For me, it's about 3-4 days every holiday season where I go into deep meditation, deep retreat. I get a deep reset. I'm getting a dopamine cleanse. I'm off of screens for several days. I'm hiking. I'm connecting to the land. I'm getting a forest bath. I'm microdosing plant medicines and psychedelics. I'm getting information. I'm allowing myself to get a massive reset in my body mind so that I come out on fire, ready to go in January. And I've set my intentions. I've clarified my goals. I'm dialed in, ready to roll. This is how I create a sense of deeper meaning and purpose in my holidays.